ways of getting around. If there's one thing that this game does a terrible job at, it like uniquely badly job about, is that it doesn't really tell you how the fuck you're supposed to get anywhere. How did I want to get to, let's look at the map. Actually, not that map, not the city map. Let's go to region info and conquest so we can see the entire world as we know it right now. I want to get to this place, this region called Valdunia, to go to a place called Zarkabard when I hover over it. How do I do that? You could, from where we are, which is in Jeuno. It's not going to show me. Hello? Is there? I don't think it's going to show me because I'm in it, which is stupid. No, it considers the story to be its own thing, or Jeuno to be its own thing. Hey, Omega, how's it going? You could travel from Battaglia Downs out of, I think, Port Jeuno. You can go to Port Jeuno, which is a floor down from where we are currently in Lower Jeuno. Go through Battaglia Downs. You could go through. I honestly forget the route. I forget the route from here because I don't walk anywhere completely anymore. You could make, what's that? No. You could make your way through Norvalin's region, and then through Farangati, and then all the way up to Zarkabard by walking. That shit is gonna take you 45 minutes to an hour. Do not do this if you can help it. Literally walking everywhere is possible, but it do be being a lot like walking IRL. It'd basically be like you walking to the next town over, and it taking like 45 minutes to an hour. All right, don't do it. So how are you supposed to go anywhere? There's like 1,000 different ways. So when you go to your Moghouse and change your job, there normally, or at least was, a prompt that asks you, do you want to set that Moghouse as your home point? There are crystals. I'm going to show you an example of one. There are crystals that are outside the Moghouses and scattered throughout the world that you can set your home point to. You can also set them at gate guards and stuff, but I'll get to that some other point. You can set your home point to, and then whenever you die, or if you use something called an instant warp scroll, which you can buy with conquest points, which you get from fighting things from gate guards, or if somebody warps you, or if you warp yourself using a spell called warp, which is available on black mages, then you get sent back to whatever your home point is. So it's just the bare bones. You die, you get sent back to this thing that you set your home point to. You're not going to get an option of which of these crystals you're going to get sent to. You just set one of these as your home point, and then that's the rub. When you are out and about in the world and you don't care about dying, and the reason why you would care is because typically it's an inconvenience in most cases, and it lowers the amount of experience points that you've gained. When you die on purpose, in order to get back to wherever your home point is, it's called blood warping. That's just a general term for it. That's not an official term of the game. That's just what players call it. I have it in here in my little script on the right-hand side. It says blood warping. Set home point to crystals or Moghouse you want to go back to before doing this. Just die Lamau. It's something that I have written for myself. LMAO. Then choose a return option. You can get instant warp scrolls earned through getting conquest points. 750 conquest points, which you'll get relatively quickly. My guess is killing things pretty consistently. You'll get that in about 10-15 minutes, maybe. You can either be a black mage and use warp 1 after you get the scroll and you apply it to yourself and you're level 17. You can warp yourself so that you don't have to blood warp anymore. It's a dedicated spell that sends you back to your home point. Or if you're level 40 and you've used the scroll, you can warp 2, which is to send other people back home. It is the ultimate BM, and absolutely never do this. Never, ever, ever do this unless the other player deliberately asks or takes you up on your suggestion to warp to them, never forcibly warp to a person unless they've consented to it. Okay? Just never ever do it. Just never ever do it. Just don't do it. It's such like reputation matters in this game because all bonding is done through mutual suffering and word travels fast. Take it from me, wait for permission. If you suggest, hey, does anybody want to warp to, which people typically call D2, and I don't remember what the D stands for. If you suggest anyone want D2, aka warp 2, and they say yes, that's when you do it. Moghouse exits, which is what lets you get around major cities much faster by choosing where you exit out and starting cities. I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. It is massively important. I cannot stress this enough. As a new player, you need to make it one of your first goals. This being a sandbox, make your first goal being unlocking Moghouse exit warping. So when you go into any major city, Windurst, Bastok, Sandoria, Jeuno, there is a quest giver that is somewhere out in the city. I think it's always going to be like a small Mithra, aka cat girl. You have to give her a specific flower. It changes depending on what city you're doing the quest for, and you can do all of them. You're not limited to just your starter city or Jeuno, thank Christ. You can also do the quest in Windurst or Sandoria. But you give her a specific flower which you can buy cheaply-ish most of the time from the auction house. Or if you somehow made it all the way to Jeuno, there is a shop in Upper Jeuno that sells the flowers. That's close to the zone exit. Zone being like the area between areas. The exit to a place. The reason why it's so important is because sometimes, like, Jeuno's layout is pretty straightforward and is very easy to understand. Right outside the Moghouse, you either go up or you go down. And then it's typically going to be a straight street all the way to the end. And then you exit out to another area. The starting city zones are fucking cursed. Okay, with Windurst being, in my humble opinion, the absolute worst and the most badly needing to have this Moghouse exit quest done. Because most cities are sprawling in many different directions. And if you're in southern Sandoria, for example, and you're trying to get to Port Sandoria, it is a whole thing to try to make it through multiple zones in order to just get there. You save yourself easily, not joking, like 5, 6, 7 minutes just by doing the Moghouse exit quest and unlocking the ability to just select, I want to leave out into this area when I exit my Moghouse. It's going to make a massive improvement for you. You're going to save hours of time literally over the course of you playing the game. Just trust me on this. Make it one of your first objectives. Level 36 warp cudgel. Yes, I will definitely get to that. That's a big one. OP warping. I'll show you what the Moghouse thing looks like. So if you have not done the exit quest yet, when you prompt your door that you want to leave, it's just going to say here, do you want to leave your Moghouse? And you're going to say yes, and then it's going to spit you out in the area that you entered from. So if I just leave, if I didn't do the quest, it would only give me the option of leaving out into Lower Jeuno. Because I've done the Moghouse exit quest, it's going to give me this prompt that says select an area to exit to. And it's going to give me all these different places minus the Mog Garden, which is like a retail thing and is not accessible in the private server. It lets me exit anywhere. So if I want to go to the very top floor of the city from Port Jeuno, I could do that without having to run like 4 flights of stairs. Grand scheme of things, doesn't seem like a big deal. Just trust me, bro. Just do it. OP warping, aka Outpost warping, is a subject that's kind of a whole deal in and of itself, even though I feel like I'm saying that, I'm giving you that preface before saying anything, but that's just how this game is. So let's exit back into Lower Jeuno, and we're going to talk to the Jeuno Outpost Goblin. There are dedicated NPCs that are in each of these starting areas, and by starting areas I mean starting cities, that allow you to also warp out to something called a outpost. An outpost is a building with a guard in front of it that is out in the world, and there is one outpost per region that you see here. So like Valdunia region, Ferngadi region, Norvalen region, Durfland region, Zolkheim region, so on. Where you see the little nation's flag is where the outpost is. You see Bucidine Glacier has a little Windurst flag on it, which means that the outpost is there. Norvalen, it's in Jugner Forest. Peshau Marshlands, Zolkheim is Valkurm. And if you noticed when we hovered over Valdunia, it did not show us anything. That's because no city has control of this area, so there's no ability to outpost warp out here. But I know for a fact that if a nation did control this area, the only outpost is in Zarkabard. So how do you get these outposts unlocked? Why should you care? So you do supply quests from that are given to you by Gate Guard NPCs. Gate Guard NPCs give you supply quests when you have not done a supply quest to a given area yet, and that given area is controlled by your nation. So for example, Durfland is controlled by Bestock. So if I have never done this supply run thing that I'm talking about to Peshau Marshlands, I can do it as long as Durfland Durfland is captured, so to speak, by Bestock. If I were trying to do a supply run over to Zolkheim by going to Valkurm and giving my supplies, I don't know, I'm trying to add another word to it, I wouldn't be able to do it. In fact, the Gate Guard won't even give you an option. If you have supplies and you haven't delivered them to a certain area, and control of that given area flips, your supplies are basically useless. You can't use them until you get control again. So doing these supply runs to an area that you control that you haven't done a supply run to yet is important, because that unlocks your ability to use these outpost teleporters to go to that area immediately. You don't have to walk there, you just teleport out. If you have done a supply run to a specific area before, we'll just use this as an example because we need to go there anyway. If I want to go to Zolkheim, which is where Valkurm Dunes is, and you'll get used to the region names and stuff, it's going to take a while to adjust. You're going to be charged money. Goblins in Jeuno that can teleport you are only going to ask for Gil Ever. If you're using the Outpost Teleporter NPC in your starting city, then it's going to ask you for Gil or Conquest points, which you gain from participating in the Conquest system that I've been kind of loosely describing. So we're going to say, yes, I do want to go somewhere. I'm going to pay you money. He's going to warp me over there. I've done a supply run to...
Reclusive. This man is more dangerous than he seems.
Hey, Flux, are you going to try to sell me something? My band fingers are ready. You're about to get band fingered. I can say that, right? I can say that, right? You better tell me if you're real. Sell something? Okay, thank God he's real. Now there was a bot in here that I'm pretty sure that was trying to sell me like Dogecoins or some shit. Anyway, thank you for following. I greatly appreciate it. Every single follow makes a huge difference. Might not seem like it, but it absolutely does. All hail the algorithm. Baltiel was defeated by the Thread Leech. We're just going to move over here where it's ostensibly safe. I've done a supply run by doing a supply quest given to you by a Gate Guard NPC, given to me by a Gate Guard NPC, and Bestock. Okay, so I was in the Holy Nation of Bestock. I went to one of the Gate Guards. I said, I want to do a supply quest. It gave me a breakdown of what areas I could do a supply quest to, aka areas that I haven't done a supply quest to yet and is under my nation's control. and it gave me the option of going to Zolkheim to do the supply run quest. I walked my ass from Bastock through Gustaberg, through North Gustaberg, through Kronstadt Highlands to Zolkheim to this big dumb building that you see here, and I gave it. There's a stupid Sandorian NPC here right now, but when Bastock has control of it, which, you know, is a right given to them by God, so it's just us feeling merciful that we're letting Sandoria hold on to Zolkheim right now. You can give it either to this gate guard, or there's gate guards that are positioned. Sometimes there's typically one or two, I think, but there's always going to be at least one. If you see at the bottom right where it says Kronstadt Highlands, and you see that little blue marker that has a line down the middle, that's the position of another gate guard. You can talk to either the gate guard that is right outside the building, or the gate guard that is going to otherwise be somewhere else in the zone in order to drop off the supplies, which unlocks the outpost. Okay, so we've done all that. This unlocks the ability to teleport there once you're a minimum level. Okay, just to make it, because it's not neat and tidy. There has to be even more to it. So you've done the supply run, you've unlocked the ability to teleport out there. What is next? In order for the outpost teleporter NPC to feel like it's okay to trust you with going to this place that you physically reached yourself, you need to be a minimum level to qualify. For reasons that I'm sure are very good, and I'm not going to go into it further than that. The minimum level that you need to be to travel to areas that make sense for you is lower if you're talking to the Goblin Outpost teleporters in Jeuno versus talking to your dedicated Outpost teleporter NPC in your starting city. And I keep saying your starting city because you can't go to another starting city. Like, I can't go to Sandoria and use their Outpost teleporter to warp out here. They'll just say, you're not a citizen of Sandoria, so I don't know why you're even talking to me. And vice versa. As Windurstian can't go to Bastock, talk to my Outpost teleporter and say, I want to warp out to Valkyrim Dunes. It just won't let them do that. So just to give you an example of like the minimum levels I was talking about, for like Zolkheim, which is where we are now, I need to be at least level 10 from what I understand. And it lets me go to like Gustaberg, Zolkheim, and one other place that I can't remember right now. I would have needed to be at least level 20, if I remember right, to be allowed by my starting nation NPC to warp me out here. I believe, but I don't know if it's been said, if the reason for that is because they're trying to funnel people into Jeuno as like a all-inclusive, moderately high to high level player hub. That's the only reasoning that I can think of is why they would do that. Because it's just annoying to use your starting teleporter outpost people. Like, once you start living, quote unquote, in Jeuno, you're always going to be using a goblin teleporter NPC, which is lower minimum level and cheaper to use anyway. So you're going to eventually not even think about it. Let me see. Area control updates weekly, so you're always going to want to check once a week for new areas to do supply runs to. So area control is going to flip based off of how well each nation's citizens are doing killing things out in the world. Just know that at Japanese midnight, which for me is like 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, the world map is going to look very different. Like, maybe you can see at the top left here, it says Sandoria is currently in the lead and keeping control of Zolkheim. Gustaberg, Bass tokens are dominant, which makes sense because it's basically like their home turf. That's the basic premise. You can travel on ferries, and I don't mean like little magical people like Tarotaro, but smaller. Ferries is in like the boat. There are only a few different ferries out in the world through a place called Mahara and Selbina that travels between those two. So sometimes it's more convenient for you to take a boat. Let me see, where is it? from Mahara, which you can see at the bottom right there. I have no idea why I pointed out my screen like you've ever been able to see where my finger is. You can take a boat from Mahara, and then this boat do be traveling all the way ass around Windurst to Zulkheim's Selbina. So it's actually even more of a weirder thing. The boat travels, and when I say travels, I mean you're going to be sitting on the boat for 5-10 minutes. Okay, just make peace with that. This game cares a lot about immersion, and that includes making boats take a long ass time to go anywhere. So from Mahar right there goes all the way through here to Selbina on the other side, which is great. Like if you're trying to do something like a quest or turn something in at Mahara, sometimes it's worth it just to teleport out here to Zulkheim, board the boat from Selbina, and then you're parking it before you know it in Mahara. I love how Stokes first saw when he gets a new follow to accost his new follower about selling him something. What do you need? It's called I have like, what is it? DTSD, Dogecoin Traumatic Stress Syndrome or disorder. I know how abbreviations work. There's also a boat in a place called Bibiki Bay, which is kind of annoying to get to, which you can also access through Kolshushu. Where is it? Bibiki Bay. It's this thing down here called a mana clipper, and it could take you to different islands. It takes you to like Purangango Island, and it takes you to a couple of others. That boat takes like to be honest with you, like 15-20 minutes. So you better be sure that the boat is taking you where you want to go. And it wrote there's no separate boat. At least I don't think so. I don't know if that's modeled in the game or not. But if you don't want to try to board a boat to like Purangango Island or whatever it's called, it's a whole name. You have to look it up for yourself. I'm gonna butcher it every time I say it, because if you get on the wrong boat to the wrong island, you're gonna have to be taken either back or warp back and try again. But yes, Vossen is right. You can buy a mana clipper ticket, and they come in multi tickets, and you can still letting you ride like 10 times for a discount total. Bibiki Bay to different islands. That's all you really need to know. You don't really use the mana clipper that often in your day-to-day Final Fantasy XI life. Just know that it exists, and that's how you get to different weird obscure islands. Airships. So airships are typically accessed from starting cities to Jeuno, and then from Jeuno to any of the other ports in the starting cities, Winder, Sandoria, Bastok, and to this third jungle hell called Kazam. But you need to do a whole quest in order to unlock the ability to board the ship to go to Kazam. It's its own self-contained thing. In order for you to board the airship at all, you need to earn the airship pass, which means getting past rank 5 missions, I believe. And in your vanilla like mission tree for your starting city. I say tree, but it's really just like a straight line. Let's see, we're almost to the end, and then I'm gonna flag up. I don't know how quickly I'm gonna get a invite as summoner, but that's my plan. I don't want to start traveling somewhere and then have to stop and start. White mage teleports. So once a white mage gets to level 36, and I think 40 plus for some other types of teleports, they can warp you to certain areas in the world as long as you've gone physically to those areas to pick up a key item that's associated with those areas. There are these things called crags. Crags are these giant, bony-looking buildings that have lots of lore associated with them, and they're in different areas across the world. There's a crag in Kronstadt Highlands called Dem. There is a crag in, where is it? Kolshushu and Tarangi Canyon called Mia. There is a crag in Lathine Plateau called Hala. You need to physically go to those crags and investigate a crystal there that's just chilling outside the crag. And once you get a key item called the teleporter crystal, I think is what it's called, or crystal fragment or something, or like crystal Mia, something like that. It's some kind of crystal thing that you just need to pick up that enables you to be warped by white mages to those specific areas. There's also more obscure teleports that you can be taken out to, which the only one that you're really going to be making a whole ton of use of once you get access to Kazam is going to El Shamo Uplands. There is a teleporter crystal that's in, what is it, Yoder Jungle. There's also a crystal in this Valdunia area that you can get warped to. And what's the last one? Altep, which is a desert area that is in Kuzance. White mages like to regularly hang out in Jeuno, that city that we just left, and let themselves be teleporting taxis. They will browse Reddit, they will watch YouTube, they will go to twitch.tv/prostoic and mash that follow and subscribe button. 25% off for September. Gotta plug it. It do be relevant. And they watch for people shouting that they need teleports to places. And then it's generally understood that they'll invite you. If you're one of these people, you will pay them some amount of gil. Typically it's like 1,000 gil, which is going to be unaffordable for you for a long time if you're completely brand new. But if you're not able to afford it for whatever reason, if you just have to be like one of those guys that's at an airport, and even though it's not your first time flying, you still don't know the airport well enough that you're like, it's my first time flying, please treat me like I live and breathe Weenie Hut Jr. and tell me where I'm supposed to go. Where's gate 11? If you explain to them I don't have much money to give you, is what I can give you okay. 99 out of 100 times they're going to be fine with whatever it is that you give them. Just know that the going rate, the culturally believed appropriate rate is like 1,000, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 gil. If you're getting warped at Altep or Yot or Basel, which is the different, more obscure areas that I mentioned. There wasn't a party, I'd definitely make one, something OP 10 to 20. So true. Demgate Crystal, any white mages in the house. See, Cybergem is like, you know, super top MVP white mage. Sometimes 3 to 4k Yot Altep to get a bite. I normally just shout no, that we were just talking about any white mages in the house, and that's it. I don't think Jim wanted you for any particular reason. I was just letting him know that you were there, and then the fact that I know that that you're a white mage, and I presume that this would be interesting to him. Yeah, you can ignore me now. It's fine. But yeah, warping or teleporting, typically 1 to 2,000. I just shout teleport Altep, just as an example. Teleport Altep. Can I have it? Money equal money colon, you can have this. And people pick. I pay them 2,000, and then they're typically fine with it. Let's see. Warp cudgels is a big one. There's an item that I keep 5 on my person in the wardrobe that we covered when we first started saying words about tutorialization, the first stream that we did. Warp cudgels are level 36 items that generally go for no less than 12,000 gil. Typically no more than 18,000 gil. 30 uses of that you can use once an hour to just warp you back to your home point that we talked about before. Very convenient to the point that to try to I way overbuy these things because I just want to be able to warp back as many times as I feel I need to from wherever I am at any time. There are teleport rings that do the same thing as the spell that I just described before. Teleport whatever, except they teleport just you to a specific place. That's like your Dem rings, Yot rings, Altep rings. You can use them once an hour. They're level 65 on any job. Any job can equip these. Some of these I think you need to do a quest for. Some of them are outrageously expensive. Like a teleport Mia ring, it's like 35k. Motherfucker, ain't nobody. I don't know who, like, if you're positively grossly loaded, I could see 35k being like a drop in the bucket, but not for most players. I would say never buy one of these teleport rings unless it's like 12k maybe. Farming seas, same as sleep, rings drop in BCNMs. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought you had to do a quest. Last couple of bullet points here. There are some, this is what I would consider to be part of this whole explanation I'm giving, which is utility, getting around the place. I would recommend that you level up certain jobs in order to get around cities and stuff faster. At some point, level up thief to 25. When you're a thief at level 25, you get access to a job ability called Flee, which lets you run twice as fast for 30 seconds, 27 technically if you counted the animation, every 5 minutes. It might not sound like a lot, but if you just don't want to pay attention to your screen, you could just flee, run the 30 seconds, tab out, wait 5 minutes, flee 30 seconds, and so on. They even have special artifact shoes that they can equip at level 60 that adds another whole 15 seconds. Wow, how generous to that flee duration. When you get to White Mage 18 and 25 respectively, Sneak and Invisible. Sneak lets us so that aggressive monsters can't hear you anymore. If they are aggressive, like as like a sound-based way of life. I don't know why I worded it like that, but let's go. And Invisible is what, you know, can be taken as red. If a monster can't see you and that's its only real way of detecting you, then it can't do anything. It sees right through you. You're invisible to them. Unless you take an action, you're going to be invisible until the duration ends. An extreme example of a utility tool, which is probably going to be way, way far in the future for many of us, myself included, is a spell called Chocobo Mazurka, which bards can get at level 73. That lets you basically ad nauseum have a slightly increased run speed for however long the song lasts. This is going to be way more useful to you if you look at bard as like a support job, and everybody loves bards. Everybody loves bards. So if you like the idea of buffing people basically for free, no magic points necessary, then you're probably going to be in the lane that you need to be to pick up this Chocobo Mazurka and run around much faster. This is the last thing that I'm going to mention. Here we go. I'm going to put up a Seek party just so that people can pick me up now that I've almost shut up. In Winders specifically, there are mini teleporters. They're NPCs whose whole job is to take you and warp you to another part of the city. Winders has, like, or at least it feels like it has 50,000 different areas. And they are all windy and curvy and awful. Okay? Don't get me wrong. The city is nice. It looks pretty. But it is ass. It is ass to run around in. It never feels good to run around Winders, in my very personal opinion. So having the ability to go to these Winders teleport NPCs, which you can find on the wiki, makes it tolerable. Not great, but it does make it tolerable to get around slightly easier.